and I ain't gonna let it slip away. I'm gonna be joyful. Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
The project is called Circles.
Today,
How would you describe this project versus your first?
I'm gonna be joyful.
With this record, it obviously came from a more confident place, understanding, you know, who I was in the Lord and also who I am in the earth. And I wanted to create a record that felt like joy.
This is the day that the Lord has made.
So you look at the project and you look at the track Circles and you decide to make that the title track. Why?
Yeah, that was a very deliberate title. I feel like last year I felt like I was spinning in circles. This is literally why I named it this. I literally felt like I was dizzy. I was so overwhelmed by, Ahmaud Arbery and then like all the election stuff, all those things. I just felt like I was spinning in circles, and I know we all did. And I felt like it was something, for the first time, I felt like we all, no matter what class, no matter what race, went through the same thing at one time. Like we all can say we faced that together, you know what I mean? And so I wanted to name the album Circles because I felt like it was really, really relevant to what we faced and what we're facing right now.
I've been reading about it, and they mentioned the death of your grandfather, your connection to your grandmother. What role did that play in this production?
Yeah, so my grandfather passed away January 2020. And that pretty much opened me up to this, like, I had never grieved before. That was the first person in my immediate family to pass away. And so it made me want to know more about him, more about my history, and all the different challenges that he dealt with. And then my grandmother started opening up about the things she dealt with. And ultimately, a lot of my songs came from those stories.
How did learning that history tie into understanding where we, as a race, Black people, are going through in terms of the racial strife that we're seeing unfold in our nation?
As I was listening to their story, my grandmother's stories, I was like, well, this is kind of what I'm dealing with now, which is scary. You know what I mean? Telling me my history, and it's still happening in my present. And so Jesus is justice. He stands for justice. How can I tie this into the gospel and communicate it well, where people feel like lighthearted and dance into it, but it's actually educational?
Is there one particular, any particular story that your grandmother shared that you think about that powerfully impacted this?
I don't talk about it publicly, so this was my first time, but with my friends, is when she shared with me the redlining and like how my grandfather literally could not, by his race, just could not own a home in that neighborhood that I call home, that I love, that I wrote a lot of these songs from that place, being raised in North Carolina. And anyway, that story sticks out to me a lot because it's like, man, he changed, ownership. We didn't have ownership in our family until he did that.
And I'm guessing then this is something that he did, she did, but didn't really talk about?
Yeah, it wasn't a thing that my parents didn't shelter me from the reality of racism, but they kind of just didn't overkill. Like they didn't want to make me feel like I wasn't accepted or I wasn't chosen or people are hating on me and mad at me. They wanted me to go to school with a clear conscience, treating everybody the same way. So yeah, they didn't bring up a lot of this stuff until, really a year, maybe 2-3 years ago. And so I've just been unpacking it. And so I'm sure we all have, in my generation, because we weren't really raised in it as much. Even though it's always been around, it's just more evident now.
I know that when it comes to music, for people like yourself, songwriters, producers, every song is special. What's your favorite song today from this project?
I'd have to say All God's Children. It tells the story of my family, like literal stories from my family's journey. My first line is, I'm praying that my mom don't fall off the deep end. And it's because my grandfather passed. She went through the suicidal, stage. And it was really, really scary. The reason I love this song is just because the chorus, after telling all these some troubling things in my family, the chorus just says, we're all God's children. We all need a redemption. A little taste of heaven and he'll set us free. We were all created to be a little complicated, there's no one perfect. He'll set us free.
Dante's Circles album is available now wherever you get your music. Also, tune into Studio 5 to hear about Old Church Basement, his collaboration with Elevation Worship and Maverick City Music coming soon. And you can find out more uplifting entertainment news on Studio 5 tonight at 8:30 Eastern on the CBN News Channel.